It feels good to use foundations again. Welcome back, achievement hunters, to Dyson Sphere Program. Now that we've hit mission complete, what comes next? Our next big goals for this series are to generate 1 terawatt of Dyson Sphere power and have a production of 30 universe matrices per second for a whole hour. That's going to take a while, but we now have the whole universe to explore. We've got a big list of 24 achievements to get to today, so let's get started. For starters, we should clear out all remaining technologies that don't use universe matrices. When you research Dyson Sphere's stress system to level 3, you'll unlock this next achievement. Since we already got started on our Dyson Sphere, even with only rockets, it won't take long for it to hit 1 gigawatt. With foundations unlocked, this is an easy one. Simply hide 20 veins using foundations. Since rare resources are now available to use, it's time to explore and expand. While we explore, it won't be long before we land on 15 different planets. With the framework of a Dyson Sphere already set up, it only makes sense to start filling it with solar sails. Launch 100,000 of them for another achievement. With an already active small carrier rocket production, it only makes sense to build bigger and better Dyson Spheres. We get another achievement after launching 30,000 rockets. While expanding to new planets, our total power generation continues to grow larger. Before you know it, you'll hit 5 gigawatts of power. It actually took me a while to find a barren desert planet in my solar system. These planets cannot produce wind power, so drop a wind turbine on it to let the game know the irony is not lost on you. These next 2 achievements get you to do something you haven't done in a while. These flowery trees found on Sakura Ocean planets can help you gather 100 sulfuric acid. Gathering carbon nanotubes, however, is a lot more difficult. They're extremely rare, but you can find them. This tree right here will give me a few. You only need 10 in total, so finding 2 trees that give them will be enough. They have something like a 1% drop rate from the large trees on Mediterranean, oceanic jungle, and prairie planets. It may take a little while, but if you're persistent enough, you should get the 10 carbon nanotubes you need. Playing without foundations was quite the challenge, but now that they're unlocked, we can work on 2 achievements that require them. The first involves covering an entire planet with foundations. It's very easy to miss a spot, so here's a few tips. It takes exactly 325,600 foundations to fully cover a planet, so bring exactly what you need to keep track of your progress. Don't do what I did. If you want this achievement, it's a lot easier to do it on a completely empty planet. It's hard to find the spots you missed if they're underneath your buildings. Lastly, there's an easy trick to spotting foundations that are missing. If you enter blueprint mode by pressing Ctrl+C, the lighting of your planet goes incredibly bright, allowing you to spot the missing areas a lot easier. This next one will require you to gather lots of soil to do it. It cost me almost 18 million soil to put down 80,000 foundations on this water world. Thankfully, the previous planet I covered in foundations is what's called a hurricane stone forest. That planet gave me plenty of soil for this. Since covering a water world is expensive, you may as well make it worth your while. You should put foundations on the poles, the equator, the prime meridians, and of course, every resource available there. This achievement is easy to keep track of if you brought exactly 80,000 foundations with you. When you first read the requirements for this next achievement, you probably said to yourself, burn 16 fuels? I didn't know this game had 16 fuels in it. Let me list them out and show you. In this first row are some of the raw resources you've gathered to make fuel or use it yourself. They include plant fuel, log, organic crystals, coal, crude oil, refined oil, hydrogen, and deuterium. The second row are fuels you're very familiar with. Energetic graphite is the better version of coal, and then we have hydrogen, deuteron, and antimatter fuel rods. They have fuel in the name, so they're pretty obvious. The third row includes materials you probably weren't aware that were also fuels. They include graphene, carbon nanotubes, diamonds, and fire ice. While you can technically burn them, the first three aren't any better than plant matter, and fire ice is only a little bit better than coal. In total, that includes 16 types of fuel. But you might have noticed, I have an accumulator in my inventory. I think this one's actually a bug, but you can get this achievement from burning an accumulator as well. Meaning, there are 17 types of fuels, and you only need to burn 16 of them. As you expand, you're going to want the rare resources that exist in the galaxy for their powerful recipes, including some of the most powerful buildings, like the plane smelter and the advanced mining machine. To get this achievement, you have to mine each rare resource by hand until you've collected 10 of each. They include organic crystal, optical grading crystal, spiniform, fire ice, fractal silicon, kimberlite, and unipolar magnets. Since we're out here mining unipolar magnets, we may as well visit the nearby star. It might have just been a coincidence, but the system with the black hole was also the farthest from my starting system. Like the neutron star, there's another achievement for orbiting a black hole. Everyone who's played Dyson Sphere Program has done this at some point. The artists and developers over at YouthCat Studio have done an amazing job at making the black holes look this incredible. No matter how many times I do this myself, I enjoy every minute of it. For this next achievement, hitting 3,000 meters per second sail speed is complicated. If you try to accelerate while in space, you'll increase your sail speed up to a maximum of 2,000 meters per second. If you happen to be going any faster than that, pressing the accelerator will actually decelerate you to 2,000 meters per second. So how do we do it? While this strategy works with any celestial body, I recommend using the black hole as it has the strongest gravity and works quite well for this. Here's what we need to do. We need to let the gravity of the black hole pull us in, allowing us to travel faster than 2,000 meters per second. At the last minute before we collide with it, warp away from it just for a second, then turn around and let it pull us in again. When you leave warp, you maintain the sailing speed you had when you started it. Keep repeating this process until eventually you get to 3,000 meters per second. Remember, don't hit the accelerator at any point during this. If you do, it will decelerate you. You can press W or forward to change the direction of your velocity, but that's it. I find that the best timing for this is to hit warp when the indicator at the bottom right says that I'm 0.3 AUs away from the black hole. When I warp, I turn slightly away so I don't hit the black hole, warp for a second, then turn around and repeat the process. Try not to get too greedy near the end, and remember to pack lots of warpers for this journey. While I was out exploring, my Dyson Sphere grew, and with it, so did the production of photons. After several hours, I eventually hit the milestone of producing 60,000 photons. Since we're back in our home system, let's take care of a few more achievements. This first one requires us to have an energy storage of 27 gigajoules. Each accumulator can store 270 megajoules, so you need to place down 100 of them. This also goes by quicker if the ones you're placing are already charged to full. With those same charged accumulators, this next one is asking us to discharge 300 megawatts of power using energy exchangers. Each energy exchanger produces 45 megawatts while discharging, so you need to use 7 of them. I tend to skip over mini fusion power stations entirely. They're pretty good, but I'd rather use my Deuterium fuel rods for small carrier rocket production instead. What they want you to do next is generate 600 megawatts of power using these mini fusion power stations. Each generates 15 megawatts of power, so you'll need at most 40 of them. You'll need fewer if the fuel is proliferated. There's a few ways you can make deuterium. We can use a miniature particle collider, gather them from gas giants, or use fractionators. This achievement wants us to make 100,000 deuterium with fractionators over the course of an hour. There are several blueprints you can find that do this, and some of the most efficient ones use pilers and proliferation to make a single fractionator produce over 8,000 deuterium per hour. Either way, just increase the size of your deuterium production until you hit this goal. Last on today's list, we need to pick up 50,000 iron ingots using the garbage collection feature. For this step, the main trigger for it is that you need to pick up all the ingots at the same time. To do this, drop 50,000 iron ingots on the floor. Try to drop them in such a way that they're all as close together as possible. Next, go to the map view. Then click the Pick Up Litter button and grab it all at once. Trying to collect from the map view helps with this achievement a lot. We'll end it here for today. We now have a total of 77 achievements. From this point on, the ones that remain are the ones that are going to take a lot of time. Not necessarily because they're difficult, but because they literally take a lot of time to do. The longest one requires us to have a total of 1 terawatt of power in our Dyson spheres. A common strategy for that one that most people use is to set up a massive Dyson Sphere project and literally leave the computer running for several hours. This may take a while, so you may have to wait a bit for the next episode. Maybe during that time I'll have to start practicing my 10-hour speedruns. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.